We're going straight in with like the big questions. In total, over the 6 years, we've worked with over 100 founders. The reality sets in and you get that stomach ache of like, oh my God, okay, this is the pressure. I was already stressed out enough with the livelihood of my team on my shoulders. I think despite those challenges, I still managed to build a team, turn it into a six-figure turnover, like profitable business. No, this isn't my first rodeo. One of the strategies with a successful exit is to have a really defined niche. You can put a number on the brand valuation, the team, the clients, everything else, but your reputation that you have in the market is something that's super, super valuable. When it comes to AI, what I'll just share in a nutshell is welcome to another weekly episode of Strategy and Tragedy. This is a bit of a different episode. I'm doing a solo one again, and I've asked you, my listeners, to send in any questions you want me to answer. I haven't seen these questions. I was trying to not look beforehand so that I could give you kind of live on the fly responses. So let's dive in. If you could start over, how would you scale Bloom to become a 500 plus agency? Oh my God, that is a fantastic question. We're going straight in with like the big questions. Okay, so just to back things up for a second, in case some of you don't already know this, I used to run my own marketing agency for about 6 years called Bloom up until last summer and didn't get it to a size of 500 plus. I think at its height had about a dozen team members, definitely, some freelance talent in the mix with that as well. And I think maybe around 20 clients at any kind of one time. I mean, in total over the 6 years, we worked with over 100 founders. Vast array of data points, super interesting experience. But how would I scale it to 500 plus if I were to do it all over again? First of all, the very first thing that comes to mind is securing external capital, whether it's angel investment. It's not the sort of VC backable business because it's a service-based kind of agency model. So VCs don't really go for that sort of thing. Someone like an angel investor, possibly even a bank loan if I had kind of the risk tolerance. I actually did another kind of reflection episode on where I thought I went wrong as a bit of a self-assessment, and I don't think I took enough risk. At the same time, I was still frugal enough to manage the finances and pay all the staff when times were tough. So you've got to kind of balance the rough with the smooth. But anyway, so back to the question. The number one thing is I would have got external investment. The whole business was growing completely bootstrapped off my own back, reinvested our profits. So I would have got an external cash injection to really kind of pump things up, and possibly a co-founder, a partner as well. I did it all on my own, I was a solo founder. So I think to share the burden, so to speak, and divide and conquer. To be completely honest with you as well, though, I think that there's a lot of that wishful thinking. I think there's a lot of that grass is greener on the other side of the fence. Like, oh, if I had a co-founder, if I had more money, like who knows what the reality would have been like. But I think that's maybe an itch I still want to scratch for kind of, next ventures. The other thing that I would have also done differently, so this again, I reflected on quite a lot, if you can't already tell, is the core value proposition of Bloom. It was essentially a marketing consultancy and very much leaning on more the brand end of the spectrum. So like brand marketing consulting. So already straight out the gate, it's kind of like, how many buzzwords do you want to throw into this? Like brand marketing consulting. And then on top of that, it was also for startups. The core value proposition, I think, did make things harder than they needed to be. So just to be even clearer with that, is the core value proposition, I think I would have focused that more on something like performance marketing. I do think that that's easier to sell because it's more about the numbers, the ROI. You can speak, data, spreadsheets. It just feels like an easier sell in that regard. It just feels more tangible. It feels much more like a safe sort of bet if you're trying to win a client to work with an agency. Or something that's much more tangible. So in terms of like content creation, more focused on pure creative branding, I think that would have also helped to actually see kind of a tangible deliverable that you're going to get, from working with us. So actually, there's different ways of looking at it. I think despite those challenges, I still managed to build a team, turn it into a six-figure turnover, like profitable business. So kind of when I put it that way, it's kind of impressed with myself that I even did that. Great question. I know this is still just on the first question, but I just have to also just add to this. As I just finished answering that first question, I don't even know if actually I would have even wanted a 500 plus agency. I was already stressed out enough with the livelihood of my team on my shoulders. It's one of those things that I think to the outside world looks amazing, and it's one of those vanity metrics, like having like a huge team and offices. And Charlotte Morley, actually, to plug another episode with the Little Loop, I think that's episode 1, actually, if you want to go back and listen to that, she joked about this thing with like neon signs. You've got like a neon sign and like this big team and everything else. But the reality when you're in it, when the kind of the glitziness of the press coverage wears off, the reality sets in and you get that stomach ache of like, oh my God, okay, this is the pressure that I need to cope with. Great question. Thank you so much for that one. All right, moving on. What are the exit opportunities for a marketing agency? Okay, another big chunky question. Exit opportunities for a marketing agency. Honestly, I think the easiest thing, if there are any other marketing agency owners out there or creative content agencies, anything in that sort of space, and you have an exit plan on your mind at some point in the distant future, I think your biggest bet is simply going to be another bigger agency or another bigger conglomerate. One of the strategies with a successful exit is to have a really defined niche. Again, one of the things that we did get right in One Way with Bloom was having a very strong niche in the startup space. If someone wanted to own that particular segment, if they wanted to dominate that particular part of the market, it's much easier for them to come in and buy not only an agency and a team and the clients that hopefully you've got contracted to you as well, but also the MasterCard, everything else is priceless. The reputation that you have in the market as well. Money can't quite put a number on that. You can put a number on the brand valuation, the team, the clients, everything else, but your reputation that you have in the market is something that's super, super valuable to prospective acquirers. Focus on a niche, start just having like early conversations. I think it's the same thing with investing as well. You want to keep having those conversations. You want to, even if you're not actively looking, whether you're, if you're not actively fundraising or actively looking for an acquisition, just have those conversations and keep those people warm. All right, moving on. What are the best qualities that make a podcast guest seem magnetic? Oh my God, that is such a great question. I love that one. What are the best qualities that make a podcast guest magnetic? Okay, I love that. All right. This question I would love to put out to you guys as well. Please comment below if you're on social, if you're on YouTube, comment below what you think you like seeing in a guest. That I would love to hear that from you. What makes a guest magnetic? What makes a guest super interesting? You're hanging off every word they're saying. What I would say is I have had some podcast guests on the show who are very experienced public speakers themselves, and it comes across. They know when to speed up, when to slow down, when to really add emphasis on what they're saying, and ultimately how to storytell, which not only makes for a magnetic podcast guest, but also makes for a better salesperson, a better entrepreneur, a better founder. You've got to tell your story. You've got to get people motivated and fired up and wanting to come on that journey with you. And storytelling, unfortunately, is at the heart of that. That's such a great question. Oh my God, I love that one. All right, moving on. When are you meeting your real mother, aka Kris Jenner? I don't know. Kris Jenner, if you're listening to this, then when are we meeting, girl? Let's get that in the diary. Love that. Yeah, basically, some people on TikTok is a whole other world, isn't it? Some very observant people on TikTok realized that my haircut was kind of like Chrissy J's and kind of dubbed like British Kris Jenner. I don't mind. I think she's amazing. So I'm down with that. Do you ever get nervous before an interview? Another great question. Thank you so much for that one. No, not really. I'm wondering if I have ever got nervous with anyone. I don't know. Do you know, I honestly, the honest answer is no. I don't get nervous at all. It's a very relaxed, comfortable environment. The fact that I know I'm just here in the studio, it's cameras, it can be edited if needed. Honestly as well, I think there are guests who get nervous, and I need to instill a sense of calm and confidence to help settle their nerves and put them at ease so that we can get into a great interview. So I think if there were any nerves of mine, I wouldn't want that to kind of rub off on them. But No, this isn't my first rodeo, so I'm fine. Thanks for the question. All right, next one. Very serious question. If you had to pick bold red lipstick or bright pink lipstick, okay, I love it. We've gone from like exit opportunities for marketing agencies, very serious business, all the way through to cosmetic choices. I love that one. I'm going to go for pink. Barbie core is still strong. I love Barbie. The film was fantastic. So I'm going to go for the bold pink. Thank you for that great question. Do you use any AI scheduling tools for effective time management? Great question. AI is obviously such a huge buzzword these days, and I don't think a day goes by without getting into a conversation with someone about AI. I think that, okay, let's see if I can put my thoughts about AI into a nutshell. First off, to answer the question, no, I don't. I am very well organized. I do pride myself on being on top of things. I feel like I could be like a PA quite easily. I'm just super like organized. So I have that kind of natural skill to thank for. But when it comes to AI, what I'll just share in a nutshell is I do think it's revolutionary. I do think it's very exciting. At the same time, there is overhype at the moment. There is a lot of hot air. There is a lot of money being put into this. And I recently saw that the last batch, Y Combinator, the very vast majority, if not every single startup on that accelerator, had some form of AI as part of their business. So it's another bubble. Again, it is still very, very exciting. Don't get me wrong, but I think we have kind of it's a little bit OTT at the moment. In terms of the practical applications of AI, I think we need to be thinking about it as a co-pilot, starting with the problem. Like any good business, don't go developing a solution in search of a problem. And it's kind of the same thing with practical applications of AI. So don't try to shoehorn in an AI tool or an AI component of the business if it's not really adding value and solving a problem. Going back to, the daily use of whether, use it for time management, for example. I was actually just having a chat with someone today who was saying like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. I can't keep up with my to-do list. I don't think anyone can. I think we've all got way too much on our plates at the moment. And they were like, I'm back to back on all these meetings and I've got to send around the notes to everyone and the actions. It's like, well, something like Fireflies, for example, just plug that in, automatically sends it out to everyone who was on the call. And so something like that, that's actually useful, that just takes that off your desk, I think is great. Happy to answer any other questions on AI. I use AI tools for the show as well. I'm actually going to be speaking about it on the podcast show as well. So I can definitely chat about that one a bit more. Okay, I think that is all the questions and all we've got time for. So thank you so much, everyone, for sending those in. I know that was a very, a very wild mix in there. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this episode. Episodes of the show are weekly. So hit that subscribe button every Wednesday at 6 a.m. and hopefully see you again there. Thanks so much, everyone.